John, the dumbest guy to ever be president, is running some crazy tricks. How you doing tonight? Any Chinese balloons floating overhead or anything like that?
I don't know, man. I mean, I'm surprised Tom Cruise hasn't gone up there already and gotten it himself, right? He flies around in his jets,
I don't want to get
right?
onto that balloon too much, but I do want your take. There were a lot of people like, shoot it down. I'm like, wait a minute, what if it's filled up with COVID 23? Why don't you like figure out what it is before you start shooting it down?
Yeah. Uh, Pretty interesting how much money we spend on the military and the whole country's paralyzed by a balloon. So
Maybe it's Xi's birthday party. You could twist
we
it
don't know
into a
what to
little
do.
dog.
We don't know what to do. They sent a balloon and it's floating around and we're like, do we shoot it down? Do we capture it? What do we do? And the whole country's mesmerized and paralyzed over a balloon.
You got to hook
So
it. You got to get it and study it. Like, here's a question for the audience, because we have a super smart audience, and everybody who watches on Fridays knows that you and I are doing a sponsor exclusive show. It's going to start in just under 30 minutes on subscribestar.com/I am John Cullen, patreon.com/I am John Cullen, and subscribestar.com, patreon.com, and odyssey.com. With Odyssey, you have to stick an @ symbol in there, but everybody gets it. It's crowdsourced the truth on those channels. I'm loving Odyssey, John. The stupid Mario brothers are trying to sue it and put it out of business. So there's got to be something good about it beyond the surface level stuff. We had an awesome historic mashup with you and Charles Ortel just last Sunday. If people didn't see that, they've got to tune in. It was shot in the amazing widescreen format, the Cinema Dope format, to accommodate Joe Biden's stupidity. I didn't mention this on Sunday, but I'm actually pretty opposed to CinemaScope. Can you guess why?
no, why?
I'm I'm team 3D. And that was one of the
Oh,
technologies brought about in the 50s with widescreen and to try to lure viewers to the movies without using glasses. But that's not what we're here to talk about today. You have prepared a slew, not a Seattle slew, but a slew of information for our viewers. What are people going to expect to hear when they tune into the sponsor exclusive segment tonight?
well, first of all, incredibly grateful to you and Charles for extending the invitation and having me on closing in with Charles Ortel on Wednesday. That was a lot of fun.
Wednesday, right?
I guess, yeah, right? It was
Yeah, it
Wednesday?
was Wednesday. You're right. It was closing in. I think I screwed that up.
Yeah. So
operation began.
that
Whoops.
And
Didn't mean to play his audio. I just wanted people to see that. See, I don't have the full control that I have in New York. Sorry. Please continue.
that's all right. So that was a very interesting show. We had an opportunity. It's the first time Charles and I have done a show together, and we were looking at the documents that I was able to locate, I guess, about a year ago at the U.S. Embassy in Ukraine. And we were exploring, to what extent might this have been one of the key reasons that Russia did what they did in Ukraine. And we watched video from Victoria Nuland and Marco Rubio questioning her about U.S. involvement in Ukraine laboratories. And it was a fascinating conversation. I mean, we only got to spend, I guess, about 20 minutes on YouTube, and then we went over to our patron only First Amendment forum at Crowdsource the Truth, Patreon, and all that. And we went on for over an hour and a half or so. It was like an hour and 40 minutes. It was a
Yeah.
really, deep conversation.
Marathon session.
Yeah, very, very good conversation, very interesting. And I was glad to be able to participate. Yeah, so
Well,
thank
I
you
was
both.
glad to have you, John. And I think the audience was really pleased to see you and Charles and I collaborating. Charles was really pleased to have you there. And we're going to have you back on. And we've got to keep doing that because the Venn diagram of you and Charles and is just outstanding. I think we should also let people know that if they are checking out Sputnik News, we participated in a text interview with Ekaterina Blainova about this peaceful research or biowarfare. And people can read that. A lot of good details in there. This is really heating up, this situation in Ukraine. Putin announced 500,000 troops. He was pretty pissed off, I think, that the German tanks were being sent to Ukraine to battle with Russia. He made a speech from historic Stalingrad. I forget the name of it now, but it's like, I think the Russian outlook on World War II, they refer to it as the Great Patriotic War. And I think they're a little bit pissed off right now.
Well, first of all, who stole my lunchbox?
You keeping the coffee warm?
Yeah, I've been looking for that for like a week and a half now. Somebody
Oh, it's Playmate.
somebody
Look
grabbed
at
my
that.
lunchbox.
Oh my God.
Yeah, somebody grabbed my lunchbox, and it looks like you just found it. Yeah, if you scroll up there, this may be the first time I've ever been quoted or cited in Sputnik. So she mentions the a quote or two that I gave her about John Kirby, and how little credibility I think he has with the American public. And she wanted to know, are these documents that you found legitimate? And I said, yeah. I mean, the technique that I used is not that strange a technique. It's well known to many people. And I'm guessing if we did try to do it again, it wouldn't be there. But people are probably wondering this show, what are we talking about with the prestidigitation and the magic? And, what is what does that have to do with everything that's going on in the news right now? And it's just such a strange phenomenon, because I remember as a kid growing up, there were a bunch of TV shows where there was a magician, like Bill Bixby was the magician, right? So that was the first one.
I was confused that he was also the Hulk. That threw me off when I was a kid. I was like, wait a minute.
Yeah, I realized, then I realized what acting was, that the same guy is a different person. It's like, oh, well, I guess that's acting. But to me, Bill Bixby was the magician, right? And over the course of the years, there's been a number of films. Most of them are pretty bad. About magicians. I think Nicolas Cage is probably in 50% of them. And then that Jeff, what somebody Eisen something has been in a bunch of them, called The Four Horsemen, and right. And
there's that one. Yeah, right. The guy plays Mark Zuckerberg in the Facebook movies, in a couple of magic movies.
Yeah, and
Now You
Woody
See
Harrelson,
Me or something like that.
Yeah. Now You See Me, and you got Woody Harrelson and all that stuff. So there's a bunch of pretty bad movies about magicians solving problems.
Right.
And to me, it just always seemed corny as hell. It's like, magicians? Why are magicians solving problems? Right? And there was like this, FBI thing with the magicians and TV shows with magicians. And it just always seemed really corny. And then I watched one of those pandemic movies, or I forget which one it was, where the guy who produced it was like a Hollywood stuntman or something like that. Oh. And he was saying, right, which film?
Out of Shadows, you're talking about, I think.
Yeah. And one of the things he suggested was sometimes, they kind of do this foreshadowing, and they kind of want to soften up the audience. And we've talked about how I feel that Don't Look Up is very much that, right? Don't Look Up both covers for past sins and makes it seem absurd, and for future things we have to deal with in 6 years. And so Don't Look Up kind of softens that beach a little bit. So when I look at the things that are happening in these movies about magicians being so absurd to me, when I saw the Vegas shooting, early on in the Vegas shooting, there was an aspect of the shooting that was an illusion. And by that, for the people who are about to hit the button at YouTube, calm down. What I mean by that is people who were looking at the Mandalay Bay thought they saw gunfire coming from various windows because of the reflections off of the glass.
Right.
Mandalay, if you don't mind, pull up a picture of Mandalay Bay at nighttime. And let people understand that during the daytime, it's this big gold-looking thing. But at nighttime, it turns into a mirror.
Yep.
And this is really important, because mirrors are a magician's best friend.
Yeah.
Okay.
Smoke and mirrors.
Oh, baby. So, I mean, that's what you want. And if any of you guys are familiar with Shin Lim, one of the things you see Shin Lim do in his performances is he uses a lot of smoke. So to Jason's point, smoke and mirrors, baby. So at nighttime, Mandalay Bay becomes a huge mirror. And this was part of the illusion, is that people looking at the building thought they're seeing gunfire coming from the building because the building's this huge mirror and it reflects all kinds of things coming from other places. And it looks like it's coming from the building. So that's odd, right? And one of the first videos that I did was called Accidental Illusion. And the notion there was that people looking at the building were pointing all over and saying, oh, it's coming from there, it's coming from here, it's coming from there, seeing various reflections in the building.
Was it an accident? I mean, I guess there's just convenient circumstance.
Right, exactly. I don't think anybody said, oh, this is perfect. You know, we'll pull this off near a reflective building. I don't think that happened. So that's why I think this was an accidental illusion. And then, you know, you have to start asking yourself, how is it that people don't see certain things? Right now, we're not going to play it now, but there are certain cognitive perception tests where your attention is called to one thing and you miss it and something else happens entirely. And we're going to take a look at one or two of these when we go to our patron-only session. So I've got a bunch of videos queued up, and one of them in particular is a lot of fun. I may have to send it to you in our 5-minute in between. I have to send you one more video. Oh, no. You can pull this up in YouTube when we do it. And it's Darren Brown doing something that, you know, I'm a big fan of Darren Brown.
Is that the chess
So we've got
guy?
a bunch of videos. The what guy?
The chess guy?
Yeah, the guy that we did the chess illusion, right? Where he beat all these chess masters, or
that was so good.
Tie them. Isn't that an amazing thing, right?
Yes.
So again, we're going to look at him again and look at him do something very similar to what we've seen in the past. And I also, hang on, I got to show you guys something. Hang on.
It's the G-rated version, right? The G-rated version of oh, look at that.
So.
Oh, from Phantasma. That's the place in New York where I did the virtual reality 3D movie that J.J. Abrams could not believe that the kid in the movie was visual effects. Now, it seems like you froze. Did we lose you?
No, I'm here.
Oh, okay, the picture froze.
You see me? Yeah. Okay.
It's magic.
So what we have here is the Phantasma magic set with over 200 magic tricks. So when we go to our patron-only hour, guess what we're going to do?
Magic.
We're going to do magic, and I'm going to show you similarities in how the government covers up things using magic. So we're going to do a couple of illusions. We've got a couple of videos, and we're going to look at how the same techniques are used. In other words, you don't need to study these techniques are the same techniques. And I'm going to show you the similarities between some basic magic tricks that came in this box and the way the government hides the things that they need hidden. So if you want to go to the deck,
just before we do that, really quickly, only because you brought
show
up
people this?
Phantasma.
Yeah.
Have I shown you this?
Everybody this. Oh, yeah, I've seen this, yeah.
Oh, I have?
I know, it's awesome.
So this is the very last stereoscopic thing, as far as I recall, that I ever did, with a really advanced setup that I created for doing virtual reality. And this allows you to take, if you have a virtual reality headset, it's a 3D tour. I'm controlling, you can look at anything in the store at any moment. And what I did is I had each of the, sort of magicians this guy works there, and there's a couple of other guys who show up throughout the video. And, you can look at whatever you want. It's really, I'm tooting my own horn here, but it's fantastic in 3D. And this is the video
but the kid, show him with the kid.
Abrams. Yeah. So here
Where's
the kid comes out. He comes out over here. So first we have Brandon. This is a great trick. Watch this. This guy's amazing. And then I ran into him on the High Line. Look at that. Right before your eyes, he turns it into a queen. Isn't that amazing? And then we've got our buddy, this kid. I just saw him on the subway with his mom, And it turns out they live in my apartment building. So I ran into them again in the building, and because he was doing card tricks on the subway. And then when I ran into his mom in the building.
But he's not really here. You put him in here on a green screen.
Yeah,
right?
This was shot in my kitchen. The kid never came to the magic store. And J.J.
And
Abrams
that's when
did
J.J.
not
Abrams
believe
flipped
that.
out. Right,
Yes.
right. J.J. Abrams said, "There's no way you pulled this off," and you said, "No, I did this in my kitchen, dude." And he's like,
he was
"There's no
watching
way."
it for so long. His PR person came over and grabbed me really gruffly and was like, "You're taking too much of his time." And he's wearing this virtual reality headset that I gave him. I said, "Well, I don't know. You pull the thing off of his head." I don't know.
Exactly.
And the woman walked away all pissed off. See, the thing that's amazing about this rig from a 3D camera standpoint, watch this. See that slow motion? I can do speed ramping. He was shot at 120 frames per second so that his amazing card tricks can be slowed down. He's about to do a Shin Lim move right here. No other system in the world could do that. Anyway.
And you can move your mouse now and scroll away and look at the other part of the store.
Absolutely.
And
They're all going home for the day. Yeah.
Very cool. Very smooth, dude.
21st century 3D. What can I tell you?
Very smooth. All right, let's go to the deck. Let's show the audience a couple things we got cooking before we go to patron only hour.
Yes. There was a time, John, when social engineers were trying to convince people that I did not actually create 3D cameras and run 21st century 3D. It was a front for a Mossad operation.
Yes. And I wasn't really in Thailand. And next thing you know, you and I are eating coconuts.
Right.
So, all right. So here's an interesting illusion. So one way you can do a magic trick is you can start with a deck of cards, right? And you start with a deck of cards and you say to the audience, "Here, I have a perfectly normal deck of cards."
Right.
Okay. Now, so there's a name for that, right? So in magic, we call that lying. All right. And that's where you say, "Here, I've got a perfectly normal deck of cards." It's not true. Okay. This deck that I have here from Phantasma that came in the magic trick, this is marked. These are marked cards. And then why are marked cards so interesting? Because this is a technique that the government uses all the time. And that is when I'm doing something with you and I'm using marked cards, it's right in front of you.
You know the outcome.
And it's right in front of your face. Right. If you knew how to read marked cards, you could see exactly what I say. So let me give you an example of this that many people may not be aware of, okay?
Yeah.
This is a can of Progresso soup.
Yeah.
Okay. New England clam chowder.
I prefer Manhattan.
Did you guys know that this has an ingredient in it that says contains bioengineered food ingredients?
I was going to say, you shouldn't eat canned soup. It's not good.
Well, canned soup is one thing. Bioengineered food ingredients sounds like a Cronenberg movie or something. I mean, this sounds like a horror show. It's like, what are you guys putting in the soup?
Yeah.
Now, why is this like marked cards?
Because they're telling you.
Because it's right in front of you. It says it right on the can, but it's so tiny, you're not going to notice it, just like the marked cards. You're going to pick up the can, you look at the soup, it's Progresso. Progresso is yummy. Progresso makes yummy soup. And look, it's New England clam chowder. You know how delicious New England clam chowder is? Why would you have bioengineered food product in? What is that?
Why not
but
just
it's right in front of your face
and cream?
That's what. Is it clams or are they growing something? So isn't this interesting?
What is it though?
Now you're gonna find. I don't know what it is, but it's in graham crackers. It's in wheat thins. It's in. It seems like everything I'm looking at has got bioengineered food product in it.
Wow.
And it says it, but as long as you don't mention that these are marked cards, nobody's going to really think that they're marked cards, and nobody's going to be looking for the little doodads on here that tell you that that's the, whatever it is that you've got in your hand.
Right.
Just like the soup. Nobody's looking at bioengineered food product.
Yeah, the
What
clam
the?
chowder part stands out.
Yeah, clearly. So that's just one example of a technique that's being used every day in your food. And I'd like to
Not
know,
my.
well, what is that? You know how we've talked about the FDA and how the FDA is one of the most powerful
Yes,
parts of the U.S.
dangerous is what
government.
Larry Klayman said.
Larry has said that he thinks it's the most corrupt. Actually, I think was what he was saying.
Dangerous is what he said.
Danger, yeah, and it's a big agency. There's a lot of people that work there. I'd like to know what the bioengineered food products are and why they're necessary. Can we please just go back to soup?
Yeah, I mean, here's something I can't even find it. I'm putting it in, and it's not taking me to any kind of direct answers. It's basically telling us all kinds of, I don't know. Here's new bioengineered food disclosure law. Useful information or consumer confusion. Farmers began growing genetically modified crops in 1996. Man, holy cow. Now, wait a minute. I don't think I knew that.
But this isn't
I knew
GMO. This isn't a GMO declaration. In other words, if
No,
they
but that's
had
what
like GMO
bioengineered
corn,
means, doesn't it?
well, I don't know. If they had GMO corn in here, it would say contains GMO corn, right? So it would tell you that. But this is saying bioengineered. Again, it's not being. Why not just tell them? What are you talking about? What is it? And why does it have to be in the soup? And why is it in the crackers? Why is it in graham crackers? People give graham crackers to children. Why is there bioengineered food product in a graham cracker from Nabisco? I don't understand. What are we doing? What was wrong with the old recipe?
Probably this
It
makes it
didn't
last a
have.
week longer and cost 2 cents less.
It costs 2 cents less is the answer, right? So that's
Yeah.
why they're doing it. Now the question is, what is it?
No.
Yeah, right. And that's a little bit disconcerting. So for everybody watching, we just pulled the curtain back on one magic trick, which is half the stuff in your grocery cart says contains bioengineered food products. So please look at what you're buying before you buy it and go through your cabinets and look at what you've got. I took a whole bunch of soup. I'm donating this to Food Kitchen. So no, I'm not eating that anymore.
Yeah.
I don't want to eat things I don't know what they are.
Oh, I agree. I totally
Forgive
agree.
me.
And our comments,
Yeah.
people are saying they're canning their own food. That's totally different. I'm talking about canned like that because without even reading the label, I knew that was full of weird stuff.
If I canned my own food, I'm sure I'd get botulism and die. All right, so here's what we've got. So here's what happened this past week. All of a sudden, out of the middle of nowhere, Johns Hopkins, well respected, right? Johns Hopkins University, the Michael Bloomberg School of Health at Johns Hopkins, goes from 17,000 people died of COVID in China to 97,000 people died in China, and they only added 80,000 in a week.
Wow. Whoa.
Okay. And there's no press, there's no coverage, nobody notices this. This isn't weird. This isn't strange. This is, this is fully expected and anticipated. And there's not an epidemiologist or virologist. Nobody notices this. Nobody reports on this as if it didn't happen.
Well, Joe Biden is planning to end COVID on May 11th, I think he said.
In the EUA for COVID, which is fascinating because now what's going to happen to all these products that are under EUA that have not yet received FDA approval? Right. So, and this is so it's going to get real interesting. So this is a fascinating development. China goes from 17,000 dead to 97,000 dead in a week, and nobody notices this. And now, is that what really happened? Like, did 80,000 people die in a week? No. The WHO pressured China to change their reporting.
How do you know that?
Right? So that was the story, was the WHO was pressuring China and saying So finally, Johns Hopkins updates their map, the WHO updates their map, and they're still 20,000 dead apart. So they've been 20,000 dead apart the whole time. Johns Hopkins and the WHO can't seem to agree on what's going on.
Is this it?
Yeah.
Wow.
There you go.
So they're like, hey, we don't think just put another 80,000 on there. Or, I mean, what is this?
Well, at
This
least
is
you
like
know
the GMO soup. You just didn't have no idea what it is.
You know, basically, I think the WHO went there and said this dude John Cullen keeps publishing that you've got 17,000 dead, and you know it's
Oh,
kind of becoming a problem.
hey, John, I just
Right.
noticed time has flown, and we're going to have to continue this
Oh my
conversation on
gosh.
subscribestar.com/IamJohnCullen, patreon.com/IamJohnCullen, and Subscribestar and Patreon/crowdsourcethetruth, and odyssey.com/@crowdsourcethetruth. Please join Odyssey. It's a great independent platform, good search engine. You can become a member on there and follow the sponsor exclusive content. We'll be back in less than 5 minutes. John's going to do some Prestidigitation and other exciting things. Whoops. And we'll see everybody in less